Hello, my name is Shalini Prasad. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the last year of my psychology program at Ryerson. My platform is called Art by Shalini. So I custom make art pieces using a variety of materials, but mostly acrylics and canvases. But I custom make canvases, glass paintings, and explosion boxes as well. I'm 1.5 generation Indo-Guyanese Canadian, so my ancestors are from India, and they were brought to Guyana as indentured laborers. So my parents were born there. They immigrated to Canada as kids, and they had my siblings and I here. I'm really excited again to collaborate with the South Asian Yard and to really just vocalize my unique experience as an Indo-Guyanese Canadian member of society. I'm excited to answer and to talk about the romantic relationships dynamic that kind of takes place within my household. And I specifically want to answer the prompt of have my choices in pursuing and developing romantic relationships been influenced more by South Asian culture or Canadian culture or both? I'm very excited to answer this. But first, I think it's important to discuss what those, norms or values within both cultures are. The customs and attitudes surrounding romantic relationships kind of like they were confusing to say the least while I was growing up, especially in an Indo-Guyanese Canadian household. Mainstream Canadian culture, it's constantly around us, and a huge part of that culture I've noticed growing up is the dating sphere. I've actually been thinking about this often too, that as early as middle school, kids were dating. And my parents made it abundantly clear that, to me and my siblings, dating was off limits. So already, that's something that my white counterparts had access to that I didn't. And I did associate it, and I still do, with my culture. So yeah, just like dating throughout middle school and throughout high school because my parents said no. Again, probably because of my culture and because of what they were used to growing up. It just kind of put me off of dating for like that first little bit of my life. And I feel as if there's like this unconscious checklist in my parents' brain of how they want romantic relationships to play out for their children. And a lot of the elements on that checklist are reflective of, Indo-Guyanese values as well as South Asian values too. Because I do feel like it's our Indian heritage that's definitely where these customs come from. This way in which romantic relationships are supposed to play out. So the person is introduced to the family fairly early on in the relationship, sometimes even before it's deemed a relationship, kind of like in like that talking stage. You would still probably have to meet the parents. Also meeting the person's family fairly early on is also encouraged. The parents meeting up and kind of discussing like, oh yeah, like they're kids and they're together. There should also be like limited physical intimacy before marriage. And there's significantly less hesitancy and freedom for girls, for sure. So again, like a significant amount of hesitancy and less freedom for girls when it comes to dating versus boys. And I feel like it's not just, very like prominent and well-labeled romantic relationships. This also stems toward casual relationships. Casual dating is much more acceptable for boys. It's even more so encouraged than it is for girls. For girls, it's more so when you find the right person, then you can date them or you can get to know them. I constantly think about how this stems from the way that it went down between my parents when they first kind of got together. They were initially dating in secret, right? And when both sets of my grandparents found out that my parents were secretly dating, their resolution was to kind of just get them married. I think that agreeing to a romantic relationship through means of marriage. The marrying aspect was huge for my grandparents because this was a way for my parents' relationship to be officially acceptable, to be officially valid. And I feel like this stems into my parents' view of romantic relationships even now, where they believe that, okay, being married is solidifying the relationship, whereas only dating is temporary, right? That kind of a relationship is adjustable. Your feelings are adjustable and they aren't necessarily permanent. And, there's like a process of getting people married if they're interested in each other. And my grandparents for sure thought that, both of my parents came from respectable Indo-Guyanese families. Both parties came from Hindu households, and it just became a very convenient and well-matched marriage. Now with my parents, growing up with the ideology of, okay, usually when you move out of your parents' house, it's because you're getting married to somebody else and you're starting a life with them. And this definitely differed over the years, their mentality of marriage and of moving out versus me and my siblings' ideology of moving out and what that would entail. And, dating someone and investing feelings into the relationship and then potentially breaking up was something my parents, they didn't always understand. And I think they still struggle to understand it, but they're definitely trying to adjust their viewpoint, to adjust the way that they view romantic relationships and romantic relationships related to their kids specifically. I definitely feel like seeing other people and other young South Asian and young Guyanese people successfully experimenting with the dating scene within Canada has at least shown them an example. Yeah, has at least shown